Hey, what's up, everyone? So, quick update on these Megatouches that I picked up. Kind of a mixed bag here. I definitely have my work cut out for me. So, I've had a chance to go through the RXs, and I also took a look at the Aurora back here. And it's kind of one of those good news, bad news situations. So, starting with the RXs, the good news is that every one of them, with the exception of the one with the broken screen that I have up here on my little bench, you can see it doesn't take long for a big mess to be made as soon as I start taking these things apart with tools and everything. So it's a pretty big disaster here, but that's okay. Anyways, the good news about these RXs is that of these three here, they're entirely complete and all of the hardware works. So I was able to boot the game up. They all have 2014 software. They all have the good motherboards. Everything in them, for the most part, is working. What's not working are the monitors. All three of these have completely dead monitors. And at first, in my experience, typically the monitors don't just die. Usually, it has to do with the power because they're basically like a computer. And if the CMOS battery dies, you only get AC voltage because it doesn't think the computer's turned on. And so just jumpering that usually gets everything to boot up. And that's kind of what I was hoping for here, but that is not the case. And these monitors are in fact completely dead. I know this because I had to use an external monitor, and as soon as I plugged in just a standard LCD monitor, everything fired up. So by all intents and purposes, these are dead monitors. And the downside to that is that these are kind of unobtainium now. They, essentially it's just an LCD panel, right? But these LCD panels run on 12 volts, and then they have the glass, obviously the touchscreen glass in front of them that's attached to them. And so I basically have two options. Before I get there, the irony of all this, and the reason why I have this one up here is, and I still need to remove this touchscreen glass here. I've only picked off a few pieces, but the reason why I have this one up here is the irony of it all is that this is the only, of the four, this is the only one that showed any signs of life. Here, let me show you. So right now I've got my power supply plugged in here. Oh, it's a little cluttered. And then I have a laptop just as a source. So if I fire this up here, hopefully it behaves. You see that? Okay. See if it, sometimes it comes back on here. Well, let me try that again here. Shut off my power. Give it about 10 seconds. None of the other monitors show any signs of life, like nothing, not even like any sort of a glow. Like when you turn on an LCD monitor and it's just black, you still have some signs of life. There's usually like an LED that's illuminated. You might get just a ever so slight, lighter shade of black, those sort of things. None of them have that. And I did verify the voltage. All right, let's see here. Okay, well, typically when I've got this set to extend, I'll get something, but it'll just stay on there, and you could see that the actual LCD is shot. It's got that spider pattern. Everything is just destroyed in it. And so I don't intend to obviously use this monitor, but what I'm thinking as one option is to see if I can pull parts from that broken monitor and get one of these up and running. And if it is something, I've never worked on an LCD monitor, but I understand the basic components of it. Not too different than like a CRT. They have caps in them. Maybe there's just some blown caps. Could be the inverter board. Could be the backlight. Could be there's only so many things that can really go wrong with these as far as I know. And so if I can at least get one of them up and running, or at least troubleshoot so I know what component failed, maybe I can find a third-party part. Like, so let's say the inverter board's bad. Maybe I can go online and find a replacement for that, and then still use, well, not this one, but still use these monitors and just get them fixed up. So that's that's plan one. I'm going to start there. And if I absolutely cannot get these repaired, the next option would be to measure the dimensions of these panels and essentially see if I can find something that is pretty darn close. Because these all, here, let me show you guys. If I open this up here. All right. So everything about these monitors is housed inside a metal shield or metal casing here, and it is tight. And so if I find a replacement, if I get lucky enough, it has to be damn close if I want to use this. I mean, I guess I could jimmy rig something in there, but yeah, I'm not sure how well that would work, because I would need something pretty spot on, especially with that touchscreen glass going over it, you know, and basically adhering to it. So I don't have real high hopes for that as an option, but you know, that is potentially a possibility. But yeah, I mean, these are really strange monitors. They accept a 12-volt signal via just a little 2-pin here, and that's how I have my external power supply attached, because it just goes into that 4-pin Molex. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. But the first course of action is I want to take this one apart and just kind of examine it. That's, you know, I guess that's one of the nice things about having 4 of these, is that I'm not too worried about, well, you know, if something goes wrong here, or I forget where a cord goes or something like that. You know, I have some wiggle room here. So that's more or less my game plan with these RXs. So good news, bad news. You know, they all have, with the exception of this one, they all have complete hardware and everything except the monitors work. So not a bad situation. Let me head back over here and we can talk about the RX, or not the RX, the Aurora. So the Aurora, if you recall, had a note on it that said touchscreen controller error. And so I threw this one on the bench and fired it up, and everything started booting up just fine. And then and then midway through, it just hard shut down, just. And I figured the power supply went. The power supply in there was the original. It's this guy right here, and these go all the time. And these are not. You can find a real inexpensive and better replacement for these. So not the end of the world. But unfortunately, in the midst of that, the power supply failing also took out the motherboard. But that's not a big deal either. This is that Asus board, and it's a piece of shit. I've dealt with these before. They fail all the time. Like they're real hunks of junk. And so that really didn't bother me. In fact, what I ended up doing was I pulled the motherboard out of here, because this one still had a motherboard in it, and it was a better Intel one, the one I throw in all of my games. They're honestly, if you had to buy them off eBay, you could probably find one for about $80, but I have a pile of them. And they're workhorses. I throw them in all of my Megatouches. Never have a problem. There's, excuse me. They're an ITX board, mini ITX board. So they run cooler. They run quieter. There's less that can really go wrong with them. And it's just an all-around better board. These, the only thing they've got going for them is this NVIDIA chip here, the graphics chip that's integrated. It's slightly better than the Intel boards. And you only really notice it on a couple of games. It's very, very minor. It's not worth it. But I do have a few of these that work. So long story short, I threw in, because I had a few spares of these that were good. I threw one of those in, got it to boot all the way up. And then once it got to the main, right before it gets to the main menu, you get a black screen that just says touchscreen controller error. So I'm like, okay, well, there's the error. But since I didn't really want to deal with this piece of crap, or this model of board, I pulled that one out because I just wanted to recreate the problem. So I pulled that one out, grabbed the motherboard out of here, the Intel one, threw it in there, and the whole thing fired right up. Not even a touchscreen error. So I'm guessing that this board was already on its last legs, and maybe that was what was causing the touchscreen controller error, because the touchscreen is just plugs in via USB. So there's not a ton that can really go wrong with it. And even if there was some sort of connection issue, I've never really ran into those being a big deal. Like, you're not going to have one just all of a sudden completely fail, at least in my experience. So, by all intents and purposes, the Aurora completely works. I set this one aside. I'll get to it down the road. I just wanted to get it up and running, and since everything works, I played a few games. Everything seems to be working. It needs the full-blown treatment, though. I need to give it a ton of TLC. It's dirty as all hell. The marquee light on this, the little fluorescent behind it, is out. I might just throw like a little makeshift LED in there or something simple if I can't find a replacement for that. The joysticks, well, I can't. There we go. Joysticks loose as all hell. They're cool, but like just with my other Aurora, same thing. It was loose as a goose and in really rough shape. So I'll take that apart. I'll tighten it all up. Usually, there's a little what's the word? Not gimbal, but there's a spring in there with the actuator that gets loose, and then the where the actual joystick rod fits into the gimbal or whatever. I'm I'm screwing up the word there, but basically that little area gets worn out because it's just like plastic. And so what I did with the other one is I ended up using some hard resin, for my mold making kit that I bought for Wonka, and was able to make a perfect mold of that, and everything was nice and smooth and tight after that. So I got to fix up that joystick, replace the fans that are in there because they're old and noisy, and you can find much better fans for them. And so yeah, it needs a whole treatment. I need to throw or upgrade the hard drive to a solid state. Things like that. The fun stuff, honestly. Maybe replace the speakers, who knows. So anyways, so this one is on pause for now because I've got it all up and running. The course of action primarily now is to focus on these RXs. Originally, I was hoping I could get like 3 of them up and running. If I can get 2, I'll be really happy. Namely because like those monitors just kind of worry me a little bit since they're kind of unobtainium right now. I did some research and I could find like one replacement that someone was trying to sell for like $600, and that's a big no. I think these are 19-inch widescreens. In fact, I'm pretty sure of it when I looked up the model on them. And of course, the manufacturer that made these is like a Korean company, and I couldn't find jack shit with regards to if they're still in business or even a website that said anything, gave me any information. All I could find when I looked up this model was like some gibberish. And so as far as I'm concerned, you can't really find these monitors, and I'm assuming that they don't make them. So that's a long-winded way of me saying here's, fingers crossed that I can fix 1 or 2 of these. So that's the next course of action. That's why I've got this one up here. I want to take this one apart and just kind of examine everything, and also verify some voltages on the boards, because if that's the case, like, even though I measured voltage on these monitors at the connector to verify I was getting the 12 volts, I haven't measured it on the board yet. So if there's something that's blocking that, maybe something there. Hopefully, it'd be nice if it was a simple fix, but I'm not counting on it. Anyhow, that's the update for now, guys, and I'm sure there'll be some more in the upcoming weeks. So thanks for watching, and I hope you're all doing well. Take care.